Hi everyone, Vinay here. Welcome back to my channel Learn Coding with Vinay and playlist ASP.NET Core MVC. In this video, we will go over CRUD operations using Web API with EF Core and consume them in an MVC application. I have already created videos on CRUD operations using Entity Framework Code First Approach, Entity Framework Database First Approach, and Dapper. The link of which I'll mention in the details of this video and comment section as well. So I'll highly recommend you guys to go ahead and watch those videos. They are quite interesting as well. Now let's come back to the topic. So we will have this topic divided into two videos. First we will have the in the first part we will go over creating MVC API project, and in the second part we'll work on the MVC project where we'll consume these APIs. So let's dive further into this. So let's go ahead and create a blank solution first. So I'm into Visual Studio. Select this blank solution. If you don't have this in recent template list, you can search the same from here, because we will be adding the same two projects API and MVC in the same solution, right? So we'll add this blank solution. So let me go ahead and say next. Let's give it a name, CRUD Web API in MVC. CRUD Web API. And let me remove in actually. CRUD Web API MVC. Okay, let's say create. So the solution is created. Let's go ahead and add project. First is we need to add the API project. So I'll say right click over here, add and new project. From here I'll take ASP.NET Core Web API, say next. Here I'll call it products.api, and it is landing in the same solution. Okay, say next. We will select 9 from here. We will configure HTTP. This is okay. This is good. Let's say create. So the API project is created. So we have default template loaded, and with this ASP.NET Core 9, this Swagger support was actually not automatically configured in before 8 and before that. Swagger was part of the project template itself. So if now we have created the project using 9, so what do we need to do? We need to configure the Swagger just to make sure that whenever we are working, once we develop the APIs, we can test those APIs using Swagger itself. So by running Visual Studio only, we can test those APIs rather than having some other client like Fiddler or Postman or something like that, right? So we'll have to do couple of changes in our project template. So let's do that. First thing we need to do is to install the package. So let's go to tools, NuGet package manager, and manage NuGet package for solution. And why do we need to do this? Because if we go ahead and run this project now, we don't see anything. The browser will not come up automatically. Only we can see the console. So we'll have to make sure that when we run the project, we can see the browser with the API endpoints, and that's the reason we have to configure this Swagger. Let's go to browse and install the package swashbuckle.asp.NET Core. Yeah, select this one, swashbuckle.asp.NET Core. Select the project and let's check out the version. Since we are in 9, we'll take the latest of 9, and let's say, let me select this one more time. 9. Okay, and let's say install. Say I accept. The uninstall button has enabled, install button are disabled, so it looks like that package is installed successfully. Let's go to the output window and also check once. Okay, this is good. Make sure you press the save all button after installation of the any package, because it writes the entry into the project file. So we'll have to make sure we are saving the project file as well. And let me show you what I am talking about. Let me open the project file. So here is the project file, and we can see the package installed over here with the version 9. So let me close this. Let me close this also, and let's move to the next step. Now, since package is installed, we'll have to make couple of changes in program.cs file. Let's open the program.cs file and add the code to configure Swagger. So we'll go over here. I'll say enter and say I'll have the code ready. Let me just copy paste it and I'll explain it. So there are two things we need to add. Add endpoints API Explorer so that the browser comes up and with the Swagger API endpoints. Right? And we need Swagger for the development environment only. Right. So this is what that code is. We don't ideally we should disable this in product server staging environment. Right. So this is the one thing we need to configure. Second thing we need to configure is to go to properties, launch setting.json, and here also we'll have to make few changes. So let's do that. Okay, I think I made a mistake. Okay, this has to be after this, somewhere over here. Let me save it and close it. And in this app setting.json, we'll have these two sections. Over here we'll need to add some few properties. We'll have to configure few properties with certain true and false. So let's do it for both HTTP and HTTPS also. So what do we need to do? Command name is equal to project, which is good. Launch browser, this is false, so let me mark this as true so that the browser comes up. Right, let me mark this true for this one as well. Right, and then let's observe the other one, the port. Okay, port is okay. Development, this is also okay. Launch URL, now we need to add one more thing. We'll have to add launch URL after this. So we'll have to launch URL Swagger, launch browser, launch URL Swagger, save it. Yeah, I think we are good now. So let me close this and let's go ahead and run this and see if whether API is coming up or not. So Swagger UI is coming up. Let's see what happens. Okay, so we can see the weather forecast API. Let's go ahead and run it once. Try it out, execute. We should get some default cities and weather detail. Right, so here it ran successfully. So basically our API project is configured correctly for Swagger. Right, so let's close this and move to the next step. Now API project is ready. Let's go ahead and add another project, which is MVC. So basically we MVC will be our client project. It will consume the API that we'll develop in the API project. So new project, we will take MVC one. We will mark this as products.web. Next 9, and this rest looks okay. Create. Okay, so web project is also created. Let me go ahead and save all. Let's mark this web project as the startup project. Run it and see whether home and privacy page are coming up or not. So let's right click on the project, set as startup project, and run it once. So the project has run. We can see the home and privacy pages are working fine. Right, so we are ready over here with our API project and web project. Both projects are ready. Let's move further. Now since we also want to do, whenever we are working, when we'll start working on MVC client project, we'll have to make sure that the APIs are also up and running in our Visual Studio. So what do we need to do? We'll have to configure our solution for multiple startup project at the same time. So let's go to solution properties, and over here select multiple startup project and over here this one API should also be start, and this should also start. Say okay. And so this one configuration we will have to make sure that when we run the project, both web and API projects are running in browser. Now let's move to the next. Now we'll work on API project now. Now since we will be using entity framework code first approach to create our APIs, and to have data access. Right? So we need to first thing we need to do is to install required packages. So these are the three packages that we need to install. Let's start with the first one, and we'll have to make sure that we are installing it into the correct project. So over here we'll have to install it, right? So I'll just close this. We'll go to tools, package manager, NuGet package manager, NuGet package manager for project. So I'll just go ahead and copy paste the first one, say enter. So select this one, select the project. We want to install only in API project, right? So we'll have to select it from the version. Make sure we are selecting 9 because we have created the project in using framework 9, right? And say install. Now to save video length, I'll install these other packages in the background and come back. So I install all these three packages. Let me save all, just to make sure the project file is also saved. Let's go ahead and check the dependency packages, and we have the required packages installed for entity framework core. So this is done. And make sure while installing you select the API project, not the web project. Right. Let's move to the next step now. Now let's go ahead and create few folders in the API project. So if you go to API project, we don't have models folder. Right. So let's go ahead and add models folder first. Add. So right click on project, say add folder, and give it a name models. Let's add one more folder that is called DTOs, and I'll explain why we are creating all these folder when the time comes. Let me as of now create the folders DTOs, and one more folder that is repositories repositories, right? Okay. So model, we will keep the models. So we'll take it, we'll work on the product example. So we'll keep the models over here. DTOs is data transfer objects, right? So if there are certain, I mean, whenever we work on API project, the thumb rule says, we should not expose our actual entities or models to the outer world. It should be via DTOs only, right? So that's the reason I created DTOs, and that also helps us, over posting and over responding, right? So we will be uh, keeping all these DTOs in the DTO folder. And repositories, here we'll have the code, product and product category repositories that will actually use entity framework core to do the database operations, right? So let's move next now. Now next is we will go ahead and add the models. So right, I'll say right click, add. We'll take a class, we'll create product category and product class. So let's give this the name product category. Add. And let's go ahead and add one more class, that is product. So right click, add class. Let's make this product, and let me put down the necessary. We'll keep the example simple, so let me put down the necessary properties in it. So product category, we will have quite simple entity. It will have ID as an integer, and it will have a name as the text, right? So basically we will have just the ID and name of that product category, like food, cold drinks, stationery, electronics, all those things, right? And over here we are defining it with the product. We are defining the relationship, right? So basically one product category can have many products, so that's why we have taken public eye collection products is equal to new list product, right? So let me save this. let's go to product now, and let me also put down properties for product model. Yeah, let me save this again. Let me quickly explain this. So this will be id. So by default, entity framework actually requires certain property names, certain code to be in, to so that it results into the correct database relationship when it converts it into the SQL, right? So usually if there is an id column, it takes it as a primary column, and also it marks it as an identity, right? Now for product category, right, for product category, now this will be actually a foreign key with the product model, right? So what do we need to do? We need to define as the navigation property and id, right? So this is actually our navigation property and the id. So that way ef core knows that okay, this guy I'll have to create a foreign key upon, and this is the thing that we'll have declared that okay, navigation properties, this is the navigation property, right? So anything that navigation property with id, that will be converted into a foreign key, right? Now for remaining, it's just the name, quite simple. We are making it of length 200 only. For price, we are taking it decimal 18 comma 2, and for discount we are making sure that it is between 0 to 99 only, and it is of 4 comma 2 only, right? So these are quite simple. So let me save these both file. Let me close this and let's move further. Now let's go ahead and add one more folder actually that I missed. So right click and add. We'll create one more folder called data. In this folder we'll have our DbContext class. So I'll say right click, add class, and we'll give it a name app.dbcontext. App.dbcontext. Let's say add, and let's put down necessary code for this. First thing, we need to make sure that this inherits from the idbcontext class, right? So that it knows that we are so the way this meant is to we will have a app.dbcontext class that will use ultimately the inbuilt dbcontext entity framework class that will help us to perform all database operation, right? So we'll have to inherit from it, and let me put down the constructor over here, right? So these are default code we'll have to do while working on the entity framework. Now let me go ahead and put down the dataset properties. Now these dataset properties are actually our tables, right? So this will result in our database tables when we run the migration. And let me also put down some, if there are some constraint you want to put down, right, or some configuration, some default data you want to put down with the first migration, then we'll on model creating, we'll have to write it using fluent apis. Here what we are doing, we are making sure that on the discount table as a check property, that discount should be greater than equal to 0 and less than equal to 99, right? So this way it will create the correct check constraint on the database on discount column, right? So I think we are done with the DbContext class over here. Let me close this. Let's move further. Next is to let's go ahead and add the connection string. So we'll go to the API project app setting.json, and over here we'll put down the connection string. Let me just go ahead, and I have ready, already have the connection string ready. So we'll put down over here. So this is again my server name, my database, my username and my password, right? Because SQL server is also installed in my machine only, and then we are giving the name product API DB, right? So let me go ahead and open the SSMS and show you that currently we don't have any database called product API DB, right, in my machine. So if I go down, so we don't have any database called product API DB. So once we run the migration, we should have the database over here. So let me move further. Now the connection string is added. The next step is to register the db context in program.cs. So let's open program.cs and have the code to register the db context. So let's go ahead and add this over here. So over here we are telling that the application, our products.api project, basically should use this connection string, right? and ultimately we are telling that our project will be using, let me go over here, our project will be using this class app DbContext to interact with database using entity framework core, and this class will be using this connection string to connect with the SQL database server and database, right? Let me save this, let me close this, and let's move further. Now since we are ready with all setup, we are, at the we have reached the stage where we can go ahead and generate the migration. So what we'll be doing, we'll go ahead and generate the migration. So let's go to tools, and before we do that, make sure that we are marking our API project as the startup project, because we can do without making it as a startup project also, but this is a better practice, just not to mess up with the required installation. We'll have to make sure that we are installing this into the correct project only. So if there are more than 10 projects in your solution, make sure you are running the migration in the correct project only, right? So as a safer side, just mark this product.api as a startup project. Right, and now let's go to tools, NuGet package manager console. Let me just write down clear first, and then let me put down the command. Make sure the default project over here is also the products.api. And here we are in the command also, we are telling, now since we have marked products.api as our default project, this is actually not required, but just to be or on a double sure side, I have specified that okay, this is the startup project and this is the current project, default project, right? And we will be adding migration into that project itself. So what we are doing, add migration, name of that migration, then project will be this and startup will be this project. So basically our API project. So let's go ahead and hit enter. So the command has run and migration has generated. Let's take a look at it. So we should also see the migration folder over here, and we should see the file over here. And let's take a quick look that it is going to create this table, product categories. Next table is products, right? And let's see, it is marking ID as primary key over here, which is good. It is also marking ID as primary key over here. It is also adding check constraint and foreign key also for the product category, right? So as I said, we will have to create models in a certain way only, right? So there are specific ways of writing it, so that it correctly results in the primary key, foreign key, and the required constraint, right? So we are ready with this. Let's go ahead and update the database now. So let's go ahead over here, write update hyphen database, and let's say enter. This might take some time, so let's wait. Excellent. So it has updated. Let's see the log quickly. We should not see the red color error, so we don't have it any. Right. So it seems to be, the migration has run successfully. Let's go ahead and check it in SSMS. So we don't have product API DB over here right now. Let's go ahead and refresh this database and see. So we can see the products API DB now over here. Let's go ahead and expand the tables. Again, this might take some time. So we can see these tables are created. Let me just open the query window and query on both these table. Actually three, EF migration history also, because that is the table which will maintain the history of migration we have ran. Currently we have run only one migration, so it should have entry for one record only. So let's see it. So let's go ahead and check first these two tables. Let me add this. Let's see. So we don't have anything, which is good, because while running the migration we could have add the default data also, but we haven't done it. That's fine. Let's check this, and let's check the migration table. At least migration table should have one value, right? So this is the migration we ran. So the database migration, has been successful. Database is created, required tables are also created, migration history is also maintained, right? So let's move further over here. So let me close this. Now we have already created the repository folders folder, right? Now over here, what we will be doing, we will be creating the infrastructure classes over here. So we'll have the repository interface and repository actual repository, which will have the database operations. Right. So let's go ahead and add those. So let me quickly tell you what I'm going to add, and that I'll do it in background to save the video length. I'll be adding two interfaces, iProduct category and iProduct, and we will have two classes, product category and product class. Right. So that way, we'll save time. So let me do that quickly and come back. So let me show you what I did quickly. I just created blank I product category interface and I product category repository class. Right. And the similar way created the I product repository interface and product repository class. Right. So in the interface, we will have just the definition of our methods, and in the repository class, we will implement them. Right. So let's begin with it. So let's go to first I product category repository. So over here, let me copy paste the operation I already have. So what we will be doing, we will have the default CRUD operations. Those are required, right? So get all, get by ID, insert, update, and delete. Right. So we'll have this operation over here. Similar way, we'll have the same operation for product repository as well. So let me go ahead and open the product repository, and we'll have the same operation for the product as well. Right. So get all, get by ID, insert, update, and delete. Let's save this, and now let's implement one by one. So let's go to I product category. So this all operation has to be implemented in the product category repository. So let me go ahead and make sure that we are inheriting from here, and let me also put down the necessary operations. First, let's just put down the DbContext, the constructor, and DbContext uh, variable. So with the using dependency injection, we are making sure that we are using the app.DbContext class for our rest of the database operation, that we'll put down it over here. So how to declare that? Create a private variable of app.DbContext, and within the constructor of that class, we'll have to pass it, and we'll have to assign it a value right over here. So underscore context is equal to context. So this way we don't need to create object of that particular class. So basically we don't need to create object of app.DbContext every time. Actually, object creation is handled by this dependency injection internally. So this is an advantage in ASP.NET Core. Right. So let's move further. So let me go ahead and put down these operations. I have the code ready. I'll explain all though. So what we are doing on get all async, we are retrieving all product category, and always whenever you are retrieving the record using entity framework core, and if you are not doing any data manipulation, make sure you mark them as no tracking, right? So entity framework by default actually tracks the record we are retrieving, and it looks for any changes, and at the end, if there is a save changes called, it saves those changes. But over here we are just returning the list of data. We are not tracking the data over here. So wherever you have such requirement, make sure you are using as no tracking. So these are the two example of these. Get all async, we are just simply returning the data. So here we have used as no tracking, and again we are retrieving single record over here, single product category, right? So here also we are using as no tracking, and we have the insert operation, we have the update operation, and we have the delete operation. Let's do the same thing for the product also. So if I go to product repository, let me copy this, let me inherit this over here, and let me put down the operations. First thing first, let's use dependency injection and put down the DbContext class. Basically inject the DbContext class. So let me show you. I have just copy paste these operations. In get all, we are getting the all products. Get by ID, we are retrieving the single product, and we have the similar operation like insert product, update product, and delete product. Right. So our database repository classes are ready. Basically, let's move to the next part now. Now let's go ahead and add the controller. So what we will be doing, we will be adding API controller. Let me right click, add, and controller over here. Make sure to select API over here. Let's take the empty one. Let's give it a name, product categories controller.cs. Add. So the product categories controller is added. Let's put down the operation over here. So again, in the controller, we will have to inject the repository now. In the repository, we injected the app DbContext. In the controller, we will have to inject the repository. Right. So what I am doing, I am adding a product repository as a dependency injection. Right. And we in the controller, we are assigning it a value. So let's move to the next now. So let me copy all these operations and let me explain you. And so what we are doing in the get all, we are calling the repositories get all async method. So basically this will be an endpoint for product categories to list all product categories, right? So we will be require this operation when we work on the MVC application. If there is an create or edit functionality, we'll have to have a drop down for product categories, right? So we'll be using it over there. Again, get by, and now we'll not be implementing CRUD operation for product category. We'll only be implementing for product. So ideally other operations will not be in that use, but still I want to explain this. So this is getting a single record, basically getting a single product category. This is creating a record, updating a record, and deleting a record, right? So let me save this. So we are ready with product category. Now let's do the similar step for product. So let me go to product. So basically we'll have to go and add the products controller first. So let's go, sorry, my bad. We'll just add controller. We'll select the API controller. We'll take the empty, add, and give this the name products controller. Let's add it. First thing first, let's inject the required repository. So in this, we will be injecting product repositories, right? So declare a private variable, add a constructor, and assign value to private variable in the constructor. Now let's work on the other operations, CRUD operations. So let me go ahead and just copy paste the operations, all these CRUD operations. So let me explain again. So in the get all, we are retrieving all products. In the get by ID, we are retrieving single product. Right? In the create, we are creating a new product. In the update, we are updating a new product. Quite simple. You can pause the video and look at this code, because ideally if we see there is only one line of code that makes sense over here, right? This is the adding product, this is the updating product, and this is the deleting product, right? So let's save this. Let me save this and let's move ahead. So at this moment we are ready. Let me close all these open file. So we are ready with the APIs also, right? API controller. So let's go ahead and run it and see if they are working or not. So we can see the swagger is up, and we can see the product categories controller and product controller and all those operations. Let's try retrieving product categories. So currently we do not have any record, so it will not, it will either return blank array or something. Okay, what is the problem? Okay, I think we missed to register the services into the program.cs, right? So let me close this. Let me go ahead and open the program.cs over here, and over here we missed to actually register our repositories. So let me go ahead and quickly do that. So let me put it down over here, that okay, we'll have the services registered over here in program.cs. Let's close these and run it again. So now again the program has run, and let's see now. Go to product categories, try execute. We should see nothing at this moment. So it has written blank array, basically nothing, because we do not have any data over there. Let's try adding one. So let's go to post product categories, try it out. Right. So we'll have to add one category. Now notice one thing over here, that even for adding a category, it requires lot of thing. Ideally adding a category should only require name, right? But it requires ID, name, and the products as well, right? So this is a classic example of over posting, right? So we should ideally feed in API inputs only those which are necessary. So here we are actually bombarding API with lot of other data that we might even not use, right? Or that those are not required. For example, we have created a very simple entity called product category. It has only two column, ID and name, right? So let me go out and open the SQL and explain you. Right, so we have only ID and name. So ideally, to make a new entry, we just need name over here. We don't need even ID because ID is an identity, right? It will be generated automatically by the database. But over here, we are posting more than, I think, 8 to 10 properties. Let me open the browser. Right. So this is an example of over posting. Similar way, let me let me let me try to add, this. I think it will result in error, but let's say, let me try to remove this. I'll keep this as 0 and I'll make this as food if it works well. So I'm removing the unnecessary properties, just keeping this ID and name, and let's try to execute it. I think it should generate an error saying that something is not right. Yeah, okay. So one or more validation error, this an object contains trailing commas. Okay, let's say, okay, this was the problem. Let's go ahead and execute again. So it has created the food category, right? We can see response 201. Basically, it is says that record created. 201 is record created, right? It created the food category. It returned the food category, and again, it is returning the product for that category as well. Ideally, this is not required, right? We should have only the ID and name over here. So this is again an example of over response, right? So we are returning more than the desired things over here, right? So this should not happen. Over posting, right, over here, and this is over response. To get rid of this, we'll have to use DTOs, right? That we will see shortly. And now let's go ahead and see in the database whether that property is got added or not. Right. So we have one property already in. Now let's try to get rid of these DTOs. Sorry, not DTOs. Let's introduce DTOs to get rid of over posting and over response. So let me close this. Let me open Visual Studio. Let's start with the repositories first. So let me go to iProduct repositories. So over here, rather than returning the actual model, we will have a DTO class and we will be returning that DTO class. Again, this is to prevent over posting and over response. And at the same time, from the security perspective, a good coding guideline says that we should never expose our actual model classes to the client, right? So instead of having this product category going in and out, we should have something else that is going in and out, and those are and that's where we will be using DTOs. So we have already created the DTO folder. Let me go ahead and add few DTOs over here. So let me tell you what I did quickly. So I went ahead and added three classes in these DTOs. First one is product category upsert DTO. This we'll be using to update, get data, update a product category, and create a product category, right? Ideally, for creating ID is not required, but this is a very small example, so we'll keep it. Otherwise, in for create, even sending ID is also over posting example, but that's okay for this. Right. So I have created product category upsert DTO. In similar way, I have created the product upsert DTO, right, for only required properties. And for product DTO, while retrieving, we will have also certain properties only in. Right. So I'll explain why we are doing this. So once we modify the operation, you will understand it better. So basically, three required DTOs are in. Let me go to product categories now. I product category. Right. So what we will be doing now, instead of this guy returning product category, I'll just comment it out, and we will have the product category upsert DTO, right, for get also, for insert and update also. So we will not use this. Let me mark this as control KC, control V, right? This is good. Now since we have modified the definition, interface, we'll have to modify the class also. So let's go to product category repository. Ideally it should have error now. Yeah, it has error because now the operations required product DT, sorry, product category DTO as input or output, right? Not the product category class. So let me go ahead and change this also. So first, let's get or let me comment this out, and let me have the only required one. So what do we need to do? We will be returning only the product category DTO, right? So we'll have to convert the category product category coming from the database via entity framework, and that we'll have to make sure we are only returning a class with two property, that is product category upsert DTO, and properties are ID and name only, right? And similar way we'll have to do the changes for other operation as well. So let me go ahead and update these two guy also. Let me mark this control KC and add these two operation. Right, control V. Let me save this. Right. So for insert also now we are passing the DTO. For update also we are passing the DTO. Right. And since we while saving we need to actually convert the DTO into the actual entity. So we are doing this conversion manually over here. We could have used any mapper functionality also as well, right? We have Mapster, we have the other one that actually helps us converting a DTO into the actual entity. Because let's say consider there are more than 15-20 properties, so writing this code will be a really verbose. We are writing a lot of code, so instead of that we can just map properties, which property goes to which property between two classes. We can have that configuration. So I'll try to cover those topic in some other video. As of now we are doing manually because we have very small set of properties, in particular these entities, product category and product both, right? So for one we have only two property, for other we have only 5 to 6 properties, right? So manually doing conversion this is okay, right? So let me go ahead and save this. So let's quickly review it. Now we are get all, we are returning product upsert DTO. For this we are returning product category only, that is okay, completely fine, right? And for insert we are accepting only DTO, we are accepting only DTO, and this is good, this is good, this is good. Now let's move on. So let's go ahead and run this and see whether our product category API is now good or not. So we have an error. Let's see what is that. It cannot convert from this to this. Okay. Insert product category. Okay. This is a category. Okay. So let me see what do we have in the contract. So let's go to repositories and I product category repository. What do we have? We have this, we have this, we have this. This is good. Go to product repository class. What do we have? As an input we have this guy, as an input we have this guy. This is okay. Now where is the problem then? Models.api.product category. Okay, where? Okay. So in the controller also we'll have to mark this as product category DTO actually, that we missed. So let me go ahead and product category upsert DTO. So it has to be this. Again we'll have to make change over here also. Right, so let's go ahead and run now. So Swagger is loading. Okay, we are good. Let's hit the get now because we have one record in already. So let's see what is the outcome of this get all products API. See, now we have only one record. So we have only product category. Now in the product category, we don't have products array, right? So that is good. So again, this is a good example. We are not over responsing also. Now let's go ahead and try the create operation. So we have only two things. So let me add this, let's say cold drinks. Let me mark this as cold drink. Let's say execute. So it has executed, it is returning cold drinks. Let's say in database, if we are having this property, I mean, if we are having this, yeah, okay. So we have this data. Let's go ahead and test further. You know, let me go ahead and this is good. Put. Let's try to edit the second record only and make this two and mark this is only cold drink. So let me say execute. So yeah, 204. Let's go ahead and run this. Right, so we have only cold drink now. So update operation is also working fine. Let's try to add one more and delete it. So let me add. Let's go to post. Instead of cold drink, let me delete this cat. Let's go ahead and run this. So it is created. Let's go over here, execute and see if we are getting all those three. Okay, so we'll be deleting the third one. So what we'll be doing, let's try it out. Let's give 3, execute. It is deleted 204. Okay, good. Let's execute and get all. Now this is working. So we have 1 and 2 basically, right? So all product categories CRUD, insert, update, delete are working, and we have also taken care of over posting and over response also, right? So let's do this similar thing with products now. So let me go ahead and start with iProduct repository. So we'll change this definition first. So ideally we'll have to change the definition first, then the implementation, then the respective controller. 3 places we should be changing. Right. So let me go ahead and just mark this control KC. Let me also go ahead and mark these two as control KC and add the required one. Even I think for product we also have to mark this control KC. So what we'll be doing, we'll be adding these two. We'll be using product DTO now. For insert and update also we'll be using product DTO, right, with only required properties. Sorry, my bad. Right. Now let's go to product category repository. So over here we will be, no, not product category, sorry, my bad, not over here. We'll have to go to product repository. So let me better go over here and open from here, right? So currently we see error because we have changed the inputs and outputs to product, from product to product DTO. Right. So let's go ahead and make changes over here as well. First, let's change the get product zinc operation. So let me go ahead and let's mark this, comment out. Let me add this, and this time it should be product DTO. Let me save this, right? So what we are doing, again, we are retrying products only, but we are converting into product DTO because while displaying we need name, category name. Ideally, if we have only written the products, it should have only product category ID only, right? But we want to make sure that we are displaying the name when we, so you will understand this better when we consume them, right? So this is again the we are reducing again the over posting and over response, right? So let's make the similar changes to other operation also. So let me change this to this and let me change this to this guy, right? Again same code, we are retrieving single record now, but we are, rather than returning the product entity, we are returning product DTO over here, right? Let's change the insert and update operation as well. So let's just comment this out, these two guys. Let me copy paste the one with the DTO one, right? So for insert also, we are passing the DTO, we are converting the DTO into the actual product, and then we are saving that actual product. Similar thing we are doing for the edit also, update basically, right? Detail delete will remain the same. So this is good. Now let's go ahead and change the controller product cat. So we'll go to product controller, and instead of this has to be product DTO. Let me see. Actually, yeah. So this is product DTO. This is good. This is product upsert DTO. Yeah. So this is good. Create. Actually, this has to be this, and this has to be this. And while retrieving, since we are returning task, we don't have anything. Yeah. Okay. So these two operations are good. Retrieving all product and retrieving single product. These are good. Let me however quickly check this. So get all, we are good. We quickly check it. Yeah. So I think we are good over here. Let's go ahead and run this and see the test it once. So the swagger is up. Let's go ahead and get all products. Try it out and execute it. Currently we don't have any product. So I think we should have the blank array. Let's see. Yeah, exactly. So we have the blank array. We have 200. So basically API calling was successful, but it returned nothing. So let's go ahead and create few products. So let me go ahead and create this. Let's mark this as one name here. You know, Parle family pack. All right, let's mark this as 50 rupees discount. Let's say we have 10. And then let me also copy this, execute this. So we have, the again 201, that is record created. We have the success message. Let's go ahead and execute this get product APIs. You can see we can see the first record over here. Now let's go ahead and make one more entry for the, let's say, Pepsi 2 LTR. Let's mark it as 90 rupees and let's have the discount as 5. Let's go ahead and execute this. Again 201, this is returned. Let's go ahead and execute products. So we have two records now, right? So insert and updates are working fine. Let's go ahead and once this execute the get by ID also. So where do we have it over here? Yeah, over here. So try it on. Let's try to retrieve the record using one ID, first record. So we are getting this Parleji. Very good. Right. Let's go ahead and create one more record and test the delete. Right. So what we'll be doing, let's say this, we'll give it a name as delete this product. Let the price and discount be same. Let's say execute. So we have this return 201. So record created basically. Let's go ahead and get execute all. So we have 1, 2, and 3 record. Let's check into the database also once, right? So let me go ahead and run the query on both of these table. So we have two categories and we have few product, right? So we have, now we'll use this guy to delete test the delete operation. So let's go to the delete operation. Let's try this delete product basically. Try it out. Let me give 3, execute. So basically 204, it's executed successfully. Let's go ahead and run the product query on product table. We have only 2 record, third record is gone. Even we can check it on the over here also. We don't need to go to database, but just wanted to make sure they are happening in database also. And so we have only 2 records over here, right? So at this moment we are actually ready with our API projects, because CRUD for product category and CRUD for product are also working fine. So that's it in this video. In next video we will consume these APIs and we will consume this API in MVC. We'll display it in form, and basically we'll work on the client project and we'll develop the required interface. So thanks a lot. I hope you enjoy this video. I'll see you in the next video.